To all units, proceed to your post assignments. All units, proceed to your post assignments.
George Trombley, Mark and George Shaw.
It's Friday, April 12th, 2019, coming to you from the capital of the province of sober virtues. My name is Mark van Dijk.
Oops. Hi, sorry. I'm George.
Hey,
I am coming to you from Las Vegas, finally.
Yeah, and this is the Mark and George Show, episode 22.
Yes, or actually, for those of you that don't know, this is how to make a podcast, episode 22.
Well, yeah, in that vein, George, before we move on, I've got something important to get off my chest.
Okay.
Well,
I love chests.
Let's just keep this short, but I listened back to the previous show, episode 21, and...
very good show. It's going to age really well.
Yeah, probably pretty quickly as well. Well, there was the part where we were talking about our podcast, and I listened back to it, and I have to say, when I heard myself talk, well, it's hard for me to find the words to express how much I wanted to punch myself in the face. God,
wait, what happened? I don't remember. I thought we had a very good show.
We had an argument, and I listened back to the argument, and I was a hypocrite.
I'm curious hypocrite. Because I come away thinking I was the hypocrite.
No. I blame you for being triggered, but when I heard myself talk, it was obvious that I was the one being triggered way more than you were. I interrupted you way more than you interrupted me. So it was unfair for me to blame you for that. I'm not proud of that and of my big mouth. So without holding back, George, I apologize to you and to the listeners.
Wow.
I'm sorry for being such a hypocrite. I'm sorry for my holier than thou tune and for my douchiness. And I'll do my best not to let it happen again. Okay?
Well, let me say that I don't think you owe anyone an apology. This is the Mark and George show, and we've agreed that in the first 50 shows, we're going to be very beta. We don't know what's going to happen. I certainly yelled at you. I certainly was triggered also during that show. And I don't think that you own all of the problems on that particular show.
Yeah, we're both douchebags.
We're both douchebags. And the reason I have no voice right now is because I was yelling so much at you during that show.
Yeah, well, for this show, you sound like Barry White, so it's okay.
Let's get it on. I couldn't hold up that note though right now. No, look, I think it's all good. I think we have an idea for today's show, or at least we talked about this on, I think this personally. I think this was private, not during any stream, but I think my wife is interrupting me completely right now. Give me 1 second.
Sure. Meanwhile,
live stream. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Wife has no boundaries,
You that didn't sound like English.
By the way, I'm sorry. She came in and put a pest control card on the floor because we have scorpions here in Las Vegas, and she's killed 12 of them in the last 3 days.
No way.
Yeah. I'm started calling her Scorpion Hunter, Yukari.
Well, she captured you. You're a Scorpio.
Oh, slam.
Hey-o.
All right, back to the...
Well, it's interesting because I live in an area where the most dangerous animal there is probably a deer or something. I don't know. A while ago there was a news report about the wolf returning to the Dutch forest. So maybe that's also a little bit scary, but I don't even know how it feels to have scorpions nearby. Are they poisonous?
They're kind of like a bee when they sting, but they're very aggressive. I got a call from the wife one night when I was out with a friend, and she had been bitten, and there was a scorpion who had crawled up into her pants and bit her or stung her a few times. And when I got home, she was holding her leg to prevent whatever, because we didn't know at the time how poisonous they were. So she was worried that the poison would go up to her heart and she would die or something like that. So I shook her pants out, and the damn thing fell out onto the floor, and it was still alive. And if you've never witnessed a scorpion, they are not like, you know, a cockroach will run away from you.
Yes.
Scorpions will come up on you. They are like, come on.
Come on, I'll sting you with my tail.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're very aggressive.
Oh my God. So
yeah.
scary, man.
Yeah. But Yukari has been, she bought one of those black lights and you shine it out into the house or into the garage, wherever, and they light up. Like I wish I could show you. I'll send you a picture later, Mark, but very, very scary. And then initially she was just capturing them, putting them in bottles and labeling them with a date.
Jesus.
And she would then see how she was doing experiments on the scorpions to see how long they could live with just water.
Oh, in a closed bottle?
Yes. In a bottle, yes.
So also
in a glass
see
bottle.
when they suffocate.
Well, I think she was giving them air. I mean, she was basically raising them as pets, but without giving them food.
Ah.
Yeah. That's my wife.
That's amazing.
That's my wife. Yeah.
That's your wife. Japanese wife.
Yep.
Do they have scorpions
Scorpion
in Japan?
hunter. What'd you say?
Do they have scorpions in Japan?
You know, I'm not sure. I've never seen one.
Well, busy week for you. Finally back in the U.S.
Yeah, it's nice to, you know what's nice? You know, the nicest thing about being in the U.S. is I was on the airplane from San Francisco to Vegas and they had just one announcement. It wasn't in 7 different languages.
Yeah.
I was on a boat to this island in Hiroshima in Japanese, Korean, Chinese, and English. And then there's about a minute in between. And then they're like, hey, we're getting ready to arrive at the island. And I had to listen to that also 4 different languages. It's nice to have just English. Honestly.
Wow, yeah. And must be a lot more calming, soothing to the mind.
Yes.
Well,
by the way.
Yeah, you got a
today.
cold, even made us skip the show. But that doesn't matter for today. We have a very, very, very big show today coming up. Very excited. Prepared a lot of things.
Do it.
Let's just jump into it. The biggest story of the week was, of course, Julian Assange arrested by the UK government. Have you heard about it?
Yeah, did you see that? The video of him?
I did.
He certainly looked like a creepy man, didn't he?
He looked like a leprechaun, honestly.
Yeah, he hadn't shaved his beard, but it really didn't grow in too well. That was what I was thinking the whole time. What happened? Why all of a sudden did Ecuador change its stance on him?
Well, they already there was an announcement made, but then Ecuador denied removing his amnesty. But then later on, apparently, and this is very interesting, they did decide to lift his amnesty asylum, and the reasons were legion, according to the Ecuadorian prime minister, the current, the newly elected prime minister of Ecuador. He listed stuff like Julian Assange was repeatedly failing to comply with the requests of the embassy. For example, his internet was denied, but computers inside. But, and this is very interesting.
Julian Assange hacked?
Yeah, well, did you know he was part of a hacker group, famous hacker group, also got detained and everything. And he was one of the bigger players. And there is also a book that's been written about him back in, I think, the 80s or 90s. A hacker novel. So it's very interesting to read. It's probably still online. I didn't prepare any of this, but it can still be found, and it details basically the life of this hacker group of which Julian Assange was a part, and his hacker handle was, I think it was Mandox. So
I was hoping it was no collusion or something really ironic. Did you hear the part about him? One of the conditions that they had put on him was that he had to properly take care of his own cat.
Yes.
I guess he was.
And I found a document. Let me just pull it up here. Which I didn't see this much going around, especially on Twitter. And this is from a website called ENCA. Not sure what this is. Might be a news organization. Let me just see. Excuse me. So
Very trusted source in news.
well, maybe because
No, I'm saying you just gotta trust this.
here's the interesting article. The title is that the IMF, and this is an article which reads that the International Monetary Fund approves a $4.2 billion loan for Ecuador. That was this morning, and I didn't find this anywhere else. But it makes it very
Sounds
hard
like a
not
condition.
to speculate on the real reason of Ecuador and the new Ecuadorian prime minister giving up Julian Assange, which even the old prime minister, the one who was responsible originally for granting Julian Assange asylum, condemned. So this is very interesting, and the news article has been apparently written in Washington, saying that they approved a $4.2 billion 3-year loan for Ecuador, which is part of a broader aid package to help support the government's economic reform program. The Washington-based lender agreed to the terms of financing late last month, and the final approval of the IMF board on Monday releases the first installment of $652 million. They say later on in this article that they, let's see, Quito, I'm not sure what Quito is, Quito, is expected to receive another $6 billion from the Development Bank of Latin America, the Inter-American Development Bank, the World Bank, and the Latin American Reserve Fund. Quote from Justine Lagarde, who is the managing director of the IMF. She says the Ecuadorian authorities are implementing a comprehensive reform program aimed at modernizing the economy and paving the way for strong, sustained, and equitable growth. So,
I don't know a lot about
$4.2 billion.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about the IMF, but I know that it really messed up Korea.
Remember
the IMF?
Yeah. Yeah,
they put a lot of control on Korea, and put a lot of I have such limited information about this, but there was a drama on it, and I think that's where I got most of my information. But in the 80s, it caused a lot of problems in Korea, because there were so many restrictions that got put into the country on price controls and all sorts of things.
Hey, this reminds me of this clip I played from the Davos episode from Bono. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Let's just quickly listen to what Bono had to say at the latest Davos, which was in, I think, January. He said something about the IMF, which should be somewhere here.
I just wanted for people to know that as an activist years ago, I thought of the IMF as a great Satan, and I'm not joking about that. I really junior economies was prevalent.
Bullying of junior economies was prevalent, and you can hear Christine Lagarde laughing on the back. Oh, the great Satan.
Here's I have this that can I just throw this in? The 1997-98 Asian financial crisis, known invariably in South Korea as the IMF crisis, was a huge event in Korea. I'm trying to pull more out of this article, but it's too much on.
Let's listen to why Bono doesn't think of the IMF as the great Satan anymore.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I remember going to meet, who was your former, the French? Camdessus. And I remember going to see him, and I was expecting Satan to welcome me.
But Satan did not look like a big red demon with a horned tail.
Very sweet Frenchman with like Buddhist beads was, hello, can I help you? And I said, well, not me, but there's lots to do. And you really, I just want to say, we in the development community, we really value your tough-mindedness, and
etc., etc. Now we love you and everything. So because this man that Bono met was not looking like Satan, but was in fact a nice, cute, small guy.
I don't think that was the actual reason.
No, but he makes it sound like this. Anyway,
could you imagine if he did look like Satan?
Well, that would
he
be
looked like
interesting.
Satan, but we know, he's got a lot of money. So,
aren't there people who actually believe that Satan looks like, the red horned? Devilish. Anyway, no religion for us today.
No religion. I don't have the voice to shout at the top of my lungs today.
No. Now, anyway, so Julian Assange was finally taken out from the embassy, which was condemned by human rights organizations and politicians worldwide. They
because it smelled like cat shit.
Maybe. Well, they can finally clean that place up again. But let me make my point. This, of course, sparked a big online debate regarding, most of all, freedom of the press. Many expressed their solidarity with WikiLeaks, in particular by the U.S., for example, the killing of 18 citizens and 2 Reuters journalists on the Pentagon footage, which was exposed, which was of a missile attack in Iraq in 2007. WikiLeaks also did revelations about diplomatic. This whole situation was the American Civil Liberty Union, the ACLU.
Now, many people say that his work encouraged people to ask what the most prominent political figures can be hiding, including the American Civil Liberty Union, who has fiercely condemned Assange's expulsion and arrest.
Any prosecution by the United States of Mr. Assange for WikiLeaks publishing operations would be unprecedented and unconstitutional and would open the door to criminal investigations of other news organizations. Moreover, prosecuting a foreign publisher for violating US secrecy laws would set an especially dangerous precedent for US journalists who routinely violate foreign secrecy laws to deliver information vital to the public's interest.
Well, next to this, there was also a condemnation from a UK civil rights organization, Street Chambers. Short clip from Speaker Jeffrey Robertson.
His conviction and sentence, just like Chelsea Manning's, will be a deterrent to other publishers in Europe, everywhere, to criticize and reveal information of misbehavior by American troops.
Next to this, one more.
Hang on, that guy.
Yeah.
That guy. That sounded like an Alfred Hitchcock, like announcer. Like it sounded like Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, his voice is really nice, but the message is very scary. Dangerous president, chilling effect, and this is also repeated by Human Rights Watch. This will be very interesting to play, but before we get to a certain slant on the narrative, let's listen to the first part of what they have to say about Julian Assange being taken out by the UK of the Ecuadorian embassy.
Now, this is also being reiterated by Human Rights Watch. They've called Assange's arrest a dangerous precedent for any news organisation, saying journalists might now have to think twice before publishing news of public importance or government scrutiny as well.
Now, what we know about Human Rights Watch is they're not exactly pro-Trump. So next to this, they had a little bit extra to say.
Now, the General Counsel of the organisation said that the Trump administration's open hostility to mainstream media.
Trump administration also helped to create a danger. Well, this is basically okay. I'm reminded of your saying. What was it again? You just throw enough things towards meatball and eventually you'll get spaghetti.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to. You reminded me of this. There's also a quote from Edward Snowden. You want to hear?
Yeah, I do. I like that guy.
Images of Ecuador's ambassador inviting the UK's secret police into the embassy to drag a publisher of Like It or Not award-winning journalism out of the building are going to end up in the history books. Assange's critics may cheer, But this is a dark moment for press freedom.
Of course, this was not Snowden himself, but this was somebody reading the tweet.
Yeah, I was like, wow, his voice really changed.
Thank you, Hefre. I will pay you after the show. So yes, questioning free speech, verifying factual information. Snowden calls it a dark moment for press freedom, which it is, of course. It makes everyone, probably all journalists, a little bit more anxious and more careful.
Wasn't there also trumped up rape charges against Assange
from Sweden? Yeah.
Right.
And
were those dropped eventually?
Well, that's the interesting thing. They were dropped, but now there were voices calling on Sweden to open up the cases again. See, the thing was, Sweden, Sweden brought up these charges, and they were, they kept saying that Julian had to go to Sweden to testify, but of course he couldn't. This was probably an attempt to get him to leave the embassy, after which he would have been arrested by the UK. But Assange did invite the prosecutor who was looking into these cases in Sweden repeatedly to the embassy, which she repeatedly declined to do. So that's something. And eventually they dropped the charges. But yes, now that he's been arrested, calls are for Sweden to open up these cases.
Yeah,
again.
anything to pile it on.
Yes. Well, of course, there were also some voices that have a different perspective. They don't really worry about press freedom because, well, of course, nobody is against the law.
I am sure that the whole House will welcome the news this morning that the Metropolitan Police have arrested Julian Assange.
That's your British government, ladies and gentlemen, cheering at the fact that Julian Assange has been arrested, which happened, of course, in a very strange way because the UK was granted access to the embassy. So police officers actually went into the embassy. Let's listen to a little bit more of this clip.
Arrested for breach of bail after nearly 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy.
Breach of bail.
He has also been arrested in relation to an extradition request from the United States authorities.
All right, so there was an extradition request from the US, and he was arrested also, so not just for the bail, but also for this.
That's interesting because that's back from Obama's era. I wonder,
but Obama decided not to actively pursue this. So what exactly is going on here? We will get into that a little bit later. A little bit more from this clip. If you don't have if you had something to add, of course. I mean, I realize I'm going through this in
keep going
in bullet train speed, but yeah, there's a lot to cover.
This is now a legal matter before the courts. My right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, will make a statement on this later. But I would like to thank the Metropolitan Police for carrying out their duties with great professionalism and to welcome the cooperation of the Ecuadorian government.
No one in the UK is above the law. Well, keep that in mind for a sec. We will revisit that little statement that she made there. The Home Secretary would make a statement, but the Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt also made a statement saying that Julian Assange is not a hero. He is not a hero. This wasn't agreed on by everyone in the UK, also not by everyone in the UK Parliament.
You don't say. I thought everybody would just agree, like automatically. Isn't that how humans normally work? We just agree, right?
Politicians are a different breed, my friend.
No, I just thought like normally if someone gives an opinion, everyone normally just goes, yeah. No? Okay, maybe I'm mistaken.
Maybe. This is Diane Abbott. She's from the UK Labour Party, and she makes a very, very compelling statement.
And we should recall what WikiLeaks actually disclosed. Who can forget the Pentagon video footage of a missile attack in 2007 in Iraq, which killed 18 civilians and 2 Reuters journalists? It is the monumental amount of leaks such as this that lifted the veil on US-led military operation in a variety of theatres, none of which being pursued to protect national security. He is being pursued because he has exposed wrongdoing by US administrations and their military forces.
Kind of agree with that.
Me too. There was one interesting response in the US. Apparently Bernie Sanders didn't say it, and this is all that I am growing fond of, actually, is Tulsi Gabbard.
AOC? Oh.
No, not AOC. Oh, AOC. AOC is shunned from this show. No, I'm kidding. But Tulsi Gabbard has a lot of interesting things to say. She's been recently.
She's the one that got shot in the head, right?
Huh? She is? No. Is she? No, nothing.
Yeah, I
about
believe she
this.
got shot in the head a few years. Hang on. What? Gabbard. You know? Who? I might be thinking of someone else.
Are you looking it up?
Yeah. She was from Arizona, right?
Tulsi Gabbard is from.
This is her, yeah.
Let's see. It's interesting. She get shot in the head. Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
Really? She's a U.S. representative for Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District since
maybe that's not her.
2013.
Who is the one that got shot in the head?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know, but you want to hear what she had to say. She recently, by the way, had enough donors to be admitted
it's Gabby
to the...
Giffords.
Well,
thank you, Radix23 in the stream.
Excellent.
Yeah, Gabby Giffords. Sorry. Same Gab in there got me confused.
And now this, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of doing a live show with an audience that is in tune. Thanks, Radix.
Actually, Darren said it ahead of him.
Or Darren. Everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Anyway.
You guys are amazing.
You told me to
That's
also
our
check.
research department.
You did? Here is Tulsi MSNBC, which...
Wait a minute. Before you continue on this, because... Yeah, this is an important thing. What we talked about after the show the other day was, why don't we bring the perspective that we show both sides? And we play clips, and you're already doing it, and I have clips today from MSNBC.
As I like to call it, a lot of ex-military people on the payroll these days. And later I will also have an interesting source clip, which we will really dive into. But before that, let's listen to what Tulsi Gabbard had to say on MSNBC about this whole Assange WikiLeaks.
The best news source you can trust, MSNBC. Go ahead.
The Mark and George Show.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was arrested today for his alleged role in hacking.
And they don't have hearing aids.
That's
and if you don't have hearing aids, you start to shout.
That's from Crossfire, right?
One.
That show is from Crossfire, right? I think that's the name of the show.
Could be. Yourself back. Because if you don't, you will start shouting. Anyway, yeah, let's listen to this again.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was arrested today for his alleged role in hacking classified U.S. military files. And I'm joined right now by U.S.
Before we continue, he was charged for hacking. So that's something we didn't hear before in the previous clips. So something to keep in mind.
Oh, that's true.
Representative and 2020 presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii. What do you make of our effort to extradite and indict and punish probably Julian Assange?
I'm deeply concerned by what's happened today. We look back at the Obama administration's decision during his time not to do this, not to try to extradite Assange and charge him because of their concern about how this government action would impinge on freedom of the press. This is a blow to transparency and a blow to a free press when you have a situation where our government is in a position where they can basically create this climate of fear against somebody or those who are publishing things that they don't like or saying things that they don't like. And that can, because the message that we American people are getting by what's happened here today is, be quiet, toe the line, otherwise there will be consequences.
Hey, I remember the guy's name. It's Chris Matthews, I think was his name. Hardball. That's it.
And the
Hardball is the name of that show. Chris Matthews.
And the clip? What do you think about what
from
said?
the clip.
No. What do you? What?
No. I was just saying. I remember the guy's name finally, Chris Matthews. I used to watch that quite a lot.
Yes.
And Crossfire was on CNN. Apparently.
What did you think about what Tulsi Gabbard had to say, though?
Well, I think it. The whole time I was thinking, freedom of the press is great when it's not against you.
Mm-hmm. The interesting thing, the interesting thing I get out of this is the fact that this is a candidate for the Democrats saying this. I've heard that there aren't any other Democrats who also have pretty much condemned the current situation, although I kind of wonder if they also are saying that this is not just a threat to journalism and, adding to the chilling effect, but also a threat to Americans across the board, as she said here.
Be quiet, toe the line, otherwise there will be consequences.
That's a message to every American, she said, which is, I thought, a very strong point to make, especially from a Democratic nominee for the presidential, the presidential candidate nominee for the.
Well, I think anyone on the Democratic side right now definitely is going to play up the fact that Trump hates the media, right? You can't take the same position as Trump and say the media is spewing fake news. And so anyone running for the Democratic side is going to say, we have to bring back normalcy to America. We have to support freedom of the press. And I don't think that her position is that unique, honestly.
Right. This will be highlighted by a clip I got from NTD, which I'm not sure what kind of news organization this is. I think they're from Manhattan or something. So maybe it's more like a local news organization. I'll play a little bit of that. But before that, let's listen to what Donald Trump, who in 2006 actually said, remember, we love WikiLeaks?
Hang on. All right. NTD, is it out of New York?
Yeah.
It's New Tane. That might not be the right one.
Well, if I open their webpage, ntd.com, I do see that they offer translations in Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. And
so this might have a Chinese slant. Not to be racist by saying slant, by the way.
Maybe. Remember when Trump in 2006 during his campaign said, we love WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks, if you have them, please expose all of the emails. I think something like that. Or did he ask that to Russia? He asked that to Russia. But he also said,
well, he was at, what's this guy's name on HBO? Bill Maher had a whole segment on it where he said, Trump says, I don't even really know who this WikiLeaks is. And then he played back the clips. I think it was.
So did he play this one?
President Trump was asked what he would like to see happen to it.
I don't really have any opinion. I know the Attorney General will be involved in that, and he'll make a decision. Okay.
No. He was playing a clip. He or whoever I heard it from was playing a clip where he's like, I really don't know anything about WikiLeaks. It might have been Rachel Maddow too. I don't remember. But then there was just back and forth of showing Trump saying how I love WikiLeaks. Yep. WikiLeaks is the greatest.
Yep.
WikiLeaks is amazing.
Yep.
And isn't it convenient that now he doesn't know who it is?
Yeah. What's this? A cop out? Is he a coward? What's happening here?
Oh, I think the answer is he's a liar.
That
might be it.
Well, that's, the easy answer. But we know that Trump was very vocal on WikiLeaks. So it's very interesting to, kind of figure out what happened. I think, I used to be very, very enthusiastic, very excited about Donald Trump. But something changed, man. And I've said this before, after the midterms, everything went differently. And I heard Garland Nixon on the Fault Lines radio show, which airs every day by Sputnik or by the Kremlin. Although the presenters have full journalistic freedom, so it's not like you can hear a Russian slant to anything. And Lee, he worked for Breitbart. He also worked for the Huffington Post. He will work for anyone as long as he can deliver his own message. He was one of Andrew Breitbart's closest friends. He was very close and upfront with on the situation when Andrew Breitbart died. That's after that the Breitbart organization kind of changed their tone, tried to become a little bit more compliant with the accepted speech, and as a result, that's how I call it. But after that, Lee decided to stop working. I think he decided to stop working for Breitbart, and he was offered a position at this morning show at Sputnik. And I listen to this show every day because I think that they don't shun any topic. They talk about everything. And there's no real narrative except for the way that these two presenters and their guests view what's happening around the world themselves. So even though this is an organization that in whole, is being paid for by Russia, the same with RT. In my opinion, they're not as slanted as your average, Republican versus Democrat kind of news organization. So yeah, I'm really really positive about them.
Are they independent? Are they outside of Russia? Or I don't understand RT's funding. Are they from Russia? Or are they outside of Russia, run by Russian people?
I don't know exactly how this works for RT. I think RT is an independent news organization. I think that Sputnik is subsidized by the Russian state, but there is, for as far as we can tell, at least, but just by listening to the channels themselves, there's no pro-Russia narrative.
No, I agree. Every time I had seen anything from RT, it always reminded me of how Japan was their news a lot of times world focused, like they would be in Afghanistan showing the struggles of a Afghani family, which we never get.
Right.
We rarely get anything like that in American news.
Yeah, they give a lot.
But RT would do it.
Yep.
NHK would do it.
Sorry, HK?
NHK is Nihon Hoso Kokai.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's the Japanese broadcasting news organization. And they do a lot of, human interest stories around the world. Whereas in America, we really are focused on ourselves.
That's for sure. And you can see
very
that
incestuous.
From outside of the US, if you look at the American channels, they're always busy with something, They're always busy feeding you with particular people who are not doing that, but because they are on the network, they still do. Sean Hannity, what's the other guy's name? And Rachel Maddow at MSNBC, of course. And
okay, but I think Sean Hannity and Rachel Maddow, they're not doing anything just because they're on the network. I think if you ever watch, for example, you watch Rachel Maddow, the way she giggles when it's pure joy. And the way that Sean Hannity seems to really revel when he's talking something, against the Democrats. I don't think they're not just there because of the network.
No, it's also because they are, in my opinion,
they're believers.
Yes. And the same with what's his other name, Tucker Carlson. He as well. He does have journalistic freedom, but it's still inside of this Fox wrapping, so to speak. It would be so strange. I wish
that she does or her team does, but there are times where I listen to her and I just think it's so slanted.
Yeah, it is. So even though that, nobody's probably telling them from outside, like, you cannot talk about this or you have to talk about that, there's still this milieu. Look it up. It's on TMAGS podcast, the Twitter page. This is where you can see George finding out on Jeopardy about the word milieu. Just it's our fan page. Please check it out. Anyway, because they are still, a part of the climate, part of the milieu where they.
Damn it! I still don't know what it means. Damn it!
Look it up, man. Go to that page and look it up, and then meanwhile, I will play from this is my second clip from NTD. The we don't know, maybe Chinese organization, maybe that doesn't say anything, just like we said about RT and stuff. This is about WikiLeaks and response from someone from the Democratic Party. I don't know exactly who, so let's figure this stuff out together.
WikiLeaks became part of Trump's presidential run after the website released emails during the campaign from the Democratic National Committee.
I just have to say, that voice, she sounds cute. This is a voice I can, she can probably read me to sleep or something.
Hang on, but I appreciate you. I appreciate your milieu on this.
I thank you, sir. All right.
Congressional Campaign Committee. The website also published emails from John Podesta, the campaign chairman of Trump's opponent, Hillary Clinton. Assange has denied that those emails came from Russian hackers. In July, though, the U.S. filed charges against 12 Russian nationals for allegedly hacking the DNC, the DCC, and employees of the Clinton campaign.
Was that a part of the Mueller probe? The 12. The 12.
I was focusing on how cute her voice was, the way she ends a word very cute.
Very,
yes.
Yeah, it's better than the Silicon Valley speak, where they always talk like this, and always their voice goes up, and you have to keep listening, and they never stop. This is a lot better than that. Oh, I hate that up-talking. Anyway, the 12 Russian nationals who were convicted in the U.S. for meddling very early on.
The very first convictions that he got, I believe.
Yeah, and they were convicted, or indicted, and then they didn't show up.
Or indicted, yeah.
Convicted.
Correct.
Yeah.
I believe that is correct.
Oh man, I've got so much more interesting stuff, but let's finish this one up.
An unnamed entity that fit the description of WikiLeaks was named in the indictment as one of the sites used to distribute the hacked material.
I think it's extremely important, and I think it's very good for us to finally get him on U.S. soil, so we can investigate, we can basically cross-examine, we can find out the facts that only he knows.
A Democrat?
And his
yes. Want me to look up who it is?
You know that's a Democrat. There's no Republican that would say, let's get him over here and talk to him. And here's that he actually did talk to the Russian, not the Russian, but he did talk to the Trump campaign. Oh man, the Democrats, this is juicy for them. They want him so bad.
Oh yeah, we want to get them on Russian soil. Well,
could you imagine? He's
also because of Hillary Clinton, of course.
Yeah, Trump called me up and he said, hey, can you hack this for me? And I was like, yeah, because I'm a hacker. And I have a recording of it. Oh, that would be the best.
That would be the best.
Wouldn't it?
Well, it would be the best for our show, that's for sure.
So happy.
Yep, sir.
Connections and how he basically distributed his information.
If Assange is extradited to the U.S., he will face charges of conspiracy to commit computer intrusion. If convicted, he faces up to 5 years in prison.
So
Killam, NTD News.
Thank you. So the conviction for hacking is actually something that they are trying. Well, there are two things that are really interesting. The hacking thing, they are trying to their point basically is that Julian Assange told Chelsea Manning, back then Bradley Manning, how to get the information to violate the SP. Other than that, I think it's very interesting, and maybe you have a perspective on this, the idea that they want to get Julian Assange to not a U.S. citizen.
I think what we had played earlier in clips saying that it sets a really dangerous precedent for a foreign journalist, which is basically what we're calling him, to be arrested and extradited to the United States. I mean, I don't know how, and I think that's why they're trying to get him on the hacking, right? Because it makes more sense that you're not getting him on anything that is tied to journalism. Because if they do it on journalism, anything tied to journalism, it's gonna
That's
really
going to
dangerous.
explode probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
that wouldn't be a good thing. But also, there's no ground on that because of your First Amendment.
Well, yeah, and what's going to happen is, though, if they get him over here, the first thing they're going to try to do is get him in jail, convicted of something, because then everyone on the right can say, "Hey, why would you trust a convicted felon?"
Yeah, but that there's not really a legal precedent or a legal case. They need to make a legal case. It's more than just trust, of course. Although the public opinion is very, very important. It's also been very divided, especially across Trump's base, because historically they were never that fond of WikiLeaks, especially because of the exposure, the military exposure and stuff like that, stuff that made the U.S. not look exactly great. But they were, I think, kind of confused when it was Trump in 2006 saying WikiLeaks, we love WikiLeaks, after exposing, the John Podesta stuff, for example.
What if Trump actually doesn't know who WikiLeaks is right now?
Well,
what if he forgot?
That would make him senile.
But I mean, look at Reagan. Reagan actually got dementia.
Yeah, but
and he was showing signs during office, and maybe, just maybe, Trump actually doesn't know who WikiLeaks is.
This is
throwing that out there.
So former Democrat from you.
Is this a little bit too meta for you?
Well, no, it's a little bit too superficial for me. It's very superficial. I'm not saying you're a superficial. It's a superficial talking point that I've seen since 2006.
No, I've seen it where they claim that. Well, I don't know if you remember this, but early on they were claiming, is it possible that Donald Trump can't read?
Yeah,
and then they would show.
But yeah, right.
It was, and I thought, wow, so just throw anything.
Yeah,
right? They're throwing anything they can at the meatball.
The 2 scoops of ice cream, him getting angry and only yelling and shouting and swearing.
Yeah, and they'll bring on like a psychiatrist, and they'll say they'll throw anything they can at Trump to make him look like he's not legit. But every time I see him speak, yeah, he restates things, and yeah, he's not coherent sometimes. But when he is coherent, he's pretty coherent.
He is. Although, again, I think that the Trump we are currently witnessing is not the Trump of before the midterms. I don't know what happened, but something changed. That's right. I when I started talking about the
he lost the Congress. What happened?
Yeah, the House, right? But the point I wanted to make was I wanted to quote Garland Nixon, one of the presenters from the Fault Lines radio show. I lost my train of thought there, but Garland Nixon doesn't call it the Trump administration anymore. He calls it the Bolton administration, because right now it's pretty much the neoconservatives telling Ria, he's been involved in that, and those talks haven't been going exactly great. The same with Pompeo, who is also, he and in the beginning, before the midterms, they were starting to deliver on stuff like North Korea. They were also very keen on restoring the relationship with Russia. They changed the support that Trump has been giving, and the Bolton administration, to Israel. Because there was something that was very interesting, which was during the election last week that happened in Israel, where Donald Trump was Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu. He had requested pretty much of Trump to help them annex the Golan Heights, which is a contested area in Syria, which also has not been accepted by the European Union, by the UK, but America has now said, okay, Israel, we will accept that you are now the owner of the Golan Heights. And the interesting thing was that Netanyahu in English said that he was very happy to get Donald Trump's support, but in Hebrew, the translation was more of, I got Donald Trump to do as I asked.
Well, remember in the beginning, Donald Trump said he supported a single state solution.
Yeah, sure. And he's always been pro-Israel, but
Well, I thought it was uninformed when he said it. And I thought, oh, that's just a slip up. But now I see that's not the case.
Right. And I've heard this before from other people. The Dutch politician Geert Wilders from Party for Freedom, the right-wing Dutch party, has also said the same thing. He believes that the Palestinians should live in Jordan area, pretty much. And me, myself,
Israeli.
Nice. Yeah. Israeli. I have no real opinion about the matter because I don't know enough about this, and I know it's it's a very hot topic. It's very difficult to talk about. So I'm not saying that Israel shouldn't be helped or anything. I think they have as much right to exist as anyone. It's just very interesting to see how much of the U.S. support goes to Israel. And where did I come from with this point?
Garland.
Yeah, who called it the Bolton administration. And that was something that, okay. Kind of lost my train of thought here. Hey,
I wasn't interrupting you. So nope. I'm not sure what happened.
Brain fart. So anyway, to go back to
I'm impressed as how you keep all of this in your head anyway. I mean, I think if I didn't say anything, you could just keep going.
Yes, and that's for sure. But I do have a lot of stuff queued up here, and I've been researching this stuff all week, especially for our show. There is one interesting. Before I did the show, I wasn't really this. My ability to talk about this stuff didn't exist yet. I'm really developing this thing thanks to our show. And
well, Gummy Nerds in the No Agenda stream says it's called bloviating.
Bloviating.
Have you not heard that word before?
Bloviating.
I gotta get another drink or I'm gonna die.
You bloviate.
Yeah. You bloviate for a couple minutes. I'm gonna go get another green tea from downstairs.
Okay. Thank you for teaching me this. All right, verbosely and windily. Pundits bloviating on the radio. Hey-o. That's me. Yeah. Well, I will take that as a compliment, especially because English is not my native language. So, thank you for that. We will wait till my co-host returns with his green tea. And while, let's see.
Totally agree.
We were talking, which is a clip from yesterday on CBS, which is also an organization who has a lot of former intelligence people on the payroll. This connects to the end of last episode 21, where we talked about Bill Browder. And before I get into the meat of this episode, my meat. Well, okay, maybe not my meat. Hey-o.
Your meat's all over this episode.
It's a very meaty episode.
It's leaving an amazing taste in my mouth.
Let me just opened up the exploration of the Bill Browder story. Did you have time to look into anything after we talked about this?
I have not. But now that I'm back, I do have the Magnitsky Act page open on my computer.
Okay, and do you...
So that I can, oh my God.
This was bloviating. Then I listened back to the previous episode, and man, it was really bloviating there. So it was I was kind of losing my point every now and then.
Let me see. Russians were involved. Pretty good, right?
Russians, yeah. Okay.
Remember when we said it's okay to have silence?
It's nice, right? getting some
Can
oxygen.
you give me It doesn't matter at this point. Give me a 2 to 3 sentence description. I totally don't. I'm blanking on it right now. I forgot what it was all about.
Bill Browder is an American-born investment consultant and manager of a fund trading in, originally in Russian energy companies' shares, who invented a certain narrative of Russian corruption and brutality. It's one sentence, so I've got 2 remaining.
The lawyer that was actually the accountant. I do remember that part.
Yes, Sergei Magnitsky. Very interesting. The Magnitsky Act, I'll just read a little bit from MagnitskyAct.com. The film and the creator, they started out making this film with a desire to just record the story as Bill Browder tells it in the Western media. But he took a closer look because he had to really dive into, the details, because he wanted to make this, like a how do you call it? Dramatized documentary, with actors and everything. And while he was looking into details more and more, he discovered that this story that Bill Browder's been telling about his company being stolen, while it was stolen, it was used to steal. So it was stolen from Bill Browder and his team. The company was then used by the alleged Russian criminals to steal $230 million, in rubles, from the Russian government. And when, ring the bell on this, whistleblow this whole story, he was locked up, tortured, and killed by Russia. Now, there are a lot of inconsistencies in the story, also told in this documentary. It's very interesting because the director also, Bill Browder, was involved in the making of this documentary. He was interviewed multiple times by the maker. The maker also interviews the mother of Sergei Magnitsky. But one of the inconsistencies, and this is, I think is a smoking gun, is the fact, or at least, depending on who you believe, that Sergei Magnitsky was never a lawyer. He was an accountant or an analyst. He worked with Bill Browder since the 1990s, but this story of theft from theft of the company is 2007. Magnitsky refused to withdraw his claims, according to Bill Browder, about Russia stealing the money, the $230 million in tax money, and he was consequently beaten to death, claimed by Browder, by 8 riot guards in an isolation prison cell in November 2009, for which he provides evidence on his own website. However, when the filmmaker wanted to recreate this whole scene, he discovered that he couldn't even fit 8 I
do remember you talking about this. 8 people into the cell.
Right. 8 guards didn't even fit into the cell. There's also one of the,
isn't that a small fact though? I mean, when I think about the way I remember things, that I find out that, even in my short life, I literally don't remember things exactly the way that they happened.
Yes.
So is it, if there's a story of a man getting killed and there's a small fact, like for example, the sheets were red, but they were actually like maroon, does that fact invalidate the whole thing? Which is, I think what happens a lot is the people will grab onto one small fact. For example, let me ask you, are you certain he wasn't a lawyer? Because it says it on the Wikipedia page, I guess, which is
right.
How much can you trust that?
There's no we can listen to Bill Browder himself in his depositions
hang on
where
just
he's
a second.
asked about this.
But let me ask you. So what if the narrative from Russia was this guy wasn't a lawyer because it's better for him to not be a lawyer? So they can, of course, Russia, which is controlled completely by Putin, can have anything wiped. I mean, there's history even of America where certain scientists reporting on certain things have been wiped, that have their history wiped. If you want to believe anything, you listen on to Art Bell from a cell.
Well, there are
maybe not 8 people.
To go to
again, I don't know anything about the story.
Right. Go to your original question, wouldn't you correct yourself after you've been confronted by the facts? So if the bed sheets were a certain color and we have proof of this and we tell you, then you could say, oh, I made a mistake.
I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be always in the spotlight. I don't know what it's like to be in the spotlight. And if I had made let's say that in the past, let's go with the bed sheets thing. Well, obviously you were wrong here, so maybe you're wrong here. And to maybe admitting a wrong, maybe as a public eye, it's the worst to do.
Right.
For example, even if you murdered somebody, you always go in and you never claim right away you're guilty because you might get off.
Sure. But that, yeah. Here,
for
example, in this documentary, this director talks to certain people from, for example, he talks to a somebody who was close to Sergei, and he casually says Sergei was a lawyer, and then he gets corrected. No, he wasn't a lawyer. He was an accountant. So like, huh? What are you talking about? He's not a lawyer. He was never a lawyer. And there's no evidence anywhere of him being a lawyer. There is a lot of other evidence that has, even if this would have been cleaned up, the other facts haven't been cleaned up, like he was an accountant for Firestone Duncan. So everything that he did, aware of Sergei Magnitsky having a lawyer's degree. Then Bill Browder says, I don't know. And then he gets asked a couple of questions and he keeps saying about this and he keeps saying, I don't know.
Didn't you play this clip on the last show?
Yes. And then finally, but he was a lawyer. And then Bill Browder says, and this I've got a lot of clips for us remaining here, which is very interesting. He says, he was my lawyer. So this one word, that's what Bill Browder now keeps saying. And
I mean, Cohen was Trump's lawyer, and that's pretty much his only client.
No, but he is an actual lawyer. That's the difference.
I mean, that's debatable, but okay.
Yeah, no, he passed the bar.
All right.
So, lo and behold, I was looking at CBS News today. And guess what I found?
Russia is asking Interpol to arrest an American-born Kremlin critic for the 7th time. Bill Browder was once the biggest foreign money manager in Moscow, but he has become a vocal critic to Russian President Vladimir Putin and his regime. Russia has accused the London-based businessman of a series of crimes, including tax evasion and for organizing a transnational criminal group. Browder is also leading a campaign to punish Russian officials for the 2009 death of his lawyer.
So, I guess I don't understand the problem with him being a lawyer or an accountant. He shouldn't have died. How did he die? He died in custody. Right? Does it matter if he was a lawyer or an accountant?
Well, yeah, no, but it matters if he was beaten to death and tortured, or if he died because of negligence. And his mother is interviewed, and she is asked point blank, even in Bill Browder's own London office, do you think that this was an intentional death, acted out by the Russian government, by 8 riot guards? And then his mother says, no, I think it's negligent, to a great deal of television. So that's very interesting. And it really, if this would come out, it would really defeat, excuse me, it would really defeat Bill Browder's narrative of it is now my duty to use use Magnitsky's death as a human rights issue. So,
I mean, for as much as I know about the story, there's no way that he's doing it just for the greater good of mankind.
Well,
it's all money.
We are going to find out how he at least talks about this, okay? Once more, and then maybe next show or the show after that, you can tell me if you have watched the documentary or other stuff, if this is a story you want to talk about more often. I won't bring it up every episode, but this
I think I have a name for the show already.
Captured me.
We should call the new show it should just be called All About Magnitsky. That should be what should be the name of the Mark and George show.
We could make a special. I've got more. Let's listen
Keep going.
to. So they set it up here. They explain, and this is the most important thing that is, especially why Bill Browder is now again in the news. Russia is now for the 7th time trying to get Interpol to issue an international arrest warrant for Bill Browder himself.
Bill joins us now from London. Welcome, Bill. Thank you so much for being with us. Can you first explain why the Russian government is trying so hard to have you arrested? This is their 7th attempt.
Well, so in 2009, my lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, was murdered in a Russian prison after torture for 358 days because he had exposed a major Russian government corruption.
Right? He was tortured for a year. That's a story here. Now, Magnitsky, he was a lawyer. He was Bill Browder's lawyer. What Sergei did was he wrote detailed like letters, like a report of how he was treated in jail. And from those reports he wrote, of course, in Russian, there doesn't seem to be any mention of bad treatment whatsoever until, and also the medical care for him was fine. There were no exceptional things he wrote down in his reports of how he was treated in jail.
Wait. But how could he have done it? Okay. Let's say I'm kidnapped and being beaten. Would they let me write a letter saying I was being beaten? No, I'd have to say everything's going great.
Or
they're treating me very well.
Or we are talking about a state that is not at all as it is portrayed in Western media. I could say U.S. media, but honestly, it's the same over here. So, Russia's really, it's like this mythical country where everyone talks like this, and if you don't do what we say,
and I realized earlier that maybe, when I said, because maybe I'm also kind of victim to the image of Russia, portrayed in the media.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
And I think, well, for one thing, it's unfair. We don't have first-hand knowledge. We don't even have second-hand knowledge. We just have a repeating narrative about Russia bad, Russia bad, Russia bad all the time, which is something that has been existent pretty much since the fall of the Soviet Union. And there was a period where Trump seemed to want to repair the relationship slowly but steadily with Russia, with Putin. He had a talk with, and we will get, Bill Browder will comment on this as well later, restoring the relationship with Russia. Then later, John Bolton came on board and everything changed. Everything changed back to an anti-Russian narrative. So that's something that we have all been able to witness, and isn't really a controversial perspective. So being tortured, he's just throwing these ideas in there. They are kleptocrats. Nobody questions this. They keep their money offshore. Nobody questions this.
Has made it a personal vendetta to try to go after me in any way he can. And
Putin makes it a personal vendetta to go against Bill Browder, to get Bill Browder, a personal vendetta.
The 7th request to Interpol is an example of that. The previous 6 requests were rejected by Interpol as being politically motivated and illegitimate.
Well, Bill,
I mean, hang on. Why would I don't understand why you don't believe 30 or against Hillary for Benghazi?
Yes, but they didn't
did
get
30
Interpol.
plus times to get rid of Obamacare.
Yeah, but they didn't get Interpol involved.
Well, you
That's
can't
a
get
big
Interpol. I mean,
situation, and the thing here is, Bill.
I mean, I don't even know if Interpol would be involved in that sort of a thing. I'm just saying, you don't believe that there's a certain thing, that a personal vendetta is possible?
No, I don't think that at all. I think that the personal vendetta is the evidence points for me towards Bill Browder having a personal vendetta because he is one of the guys of the HSBC club, and they are pointing with all of their arrows towards an enemy so that people will not look into them. And this is something that seems to work, but for now, however, the evidence just doesn't add up. And now, and this is what I think is blatant, is even a disgrace, is that what Bill Browder is doing here is he is politicizing Interpol, which is an international police. It has nothing to do with politics, but because Bill Browder says now that Putin is using Interpol, which is, well,
he is. He's trying to use Interpol. He is. I mean, what's inaccurate about that?
The fact that Interpol is not some kind of organization that bows down to politicizing such a narrative.
Well, obviously they're not if they've turned it down 6 times already, right?
Exactly. So,
but it's not wrong to say that Putin is attempting to use Interpol.
I think that if Interpol might be dog of Putin, as soon as they will, for this, the 7th time, they will issue the international arrest warrant. He's already.
I didn't get that out of what he was saying.
Well, he's already taking preventative measures here by saying all of this. He's pretty much saying that.
I mean, wouldn't you? If you were facing an international arrest warrant through Interpol, wouldn't you be on TV saying, "Hey, this is bullshit"?
Yeah, maybe. And
it's obviously
I'm now remembering.
I don't understand.
I'm now reminded of the time when Interpol, was it Interpol or Europol, which issued an international arrest warrant for Julian Assange. So maybe, maybe I need to tone down my bark here a little bit.
I don't know. I just think I just think if you put yourself, like I always think about this, if I was president, would I be scandal free? And the answer is no.
No, of course not.
I would have so many scandals because I'm human.
Yes.
And maybe I didn't even do anything wrong. Maybe I had the right intentions. And I also think that even if I murdered somebody, even if I did,
that would be a scandal.
Well, it would definitely be a scandal, but I would certainly not say, yes, I murdered them. I would be like, no, I'm innocent. I mean, it's just human nature to defend yourself.
But in those cases, if you did murder someone, then the more you lie, the more facts don't add up. And that's what's happening here.
Unless both sides are lying, unless both sides are making up facts. And I think that that's completely possible.
Yeah, but there's also the chance that Bill Browder actually stole $230 million, maybe even more, from the Russian government.
I thought that same thing. But maybe, I don't know, anything's possible, right?
See, the thing is, if you have like a relative unity, then stealing $1 million from that community really hurts people. It really hurts people. That's a lot of money. So, and the fact is, this has been stolen. The question is just, by whom? And, well, in the Magnitsky Act, the movie, you can also see the interview with one of the 2 people that are, that Bill Browder says stole the money. This guy is okay with coming on camera. He is working in the police department or something, or now he's working in a ministry. Anyway, he's an official. He was part of the raid back then of one of Bill Browder's companies. He's explaining that he was suing Bill Browder in London about the claims Bill Browder keeps making about him, and the judge actually agreed with this Russian fellow. His name is what's called or something. I'm hard remembering this, but I mean Russian
Dennis
names, man. His name is Japanese. No, it's oh, that name also pops up a lot. Oh,
I'm on the Wikipedia page right now looking at it.
It's another name. It's well, I'll
Gonzo Kucherkakov, according to Darren in the no industry.
Oh, it's also not that one. No, it's just, I think it's a 6-letter last name. Koskov or something like
Vladimir
that.
says Costco.
Yes.
Vladimir Costco. Actually, no. Jason.
The troll room for a reason, of course.
Damn it.
So,
I'm so new to this. It's my first day in here.
Let's just,
got
establish one thing. The chat room is full of
bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, damn it. My first day.
About Bill Browder. Let's get back on topic because I've got a...
Just saying they're really good because they lulled me in with actual information at one point. And then they pulled the carpet out of underneath my feet there.
Karpov. I think his name is Karpov. He's okay with coming on camera, and he explains that in fact, to sue Bill Browder, he had to sell the property that was claimed, to be in possession by him. Bill Browder claims that this guy has that property, but he bought it using the money that he stole from Bill Browder's companies. But in fact, if you look at the official papers, you can see that the building was already bought and paid for before this all even happened. Anyway, so, these are all just small facts, but like you usually say, a lot of small specks of dust eventually create a mountain. And that's, I think, what's happening here. So let's listen to a little bit to what gets this guy, what keeps this guy ticking.
And so why do you think it is so important to be outspoken in your criticism of the Kremlin, despite the potential danger to yourself? I mean, you've said you believe your life is in danger.
My life is indeed in danger, but I have a duty to Sergei Magnitsky, my lawyer, who was murdered in my service, to go after the people that killed him and make sure they face justice. And for me to back down or to be intimidated by these actions of the Putin regime would be a great betrayal of his memory, and I won't do that.
Now, as you mentioned, Interpol has declined Russia's request for your arrest 6 times before this. The commission is expected to begin reviewing the latest request on Monday. And you wrote on Twitter, quote, "Something needs to be done, fixed at Interpol if dictators can go back unlimited times to chase their enemies with bogus warrants."
See, it's again the insertion of a small word that just changes your, as somebody who doesn't know much about this, your perspective on Russia. He calls Putin a dictator. That's insane. Russia has democratic elections, and the West has kept saying Putin gets rid of all. No, let me finish.
Putin does
gets rid of all of his competition. No, he doesn't. There's no proof of this except for the Western media. Where did you hear any of these things? In the Western media. Did we have?
First of all, I don't know Russian, so how could I listen to Russian media? First of all, I can only listen to Western media because I don't speak Russian.
Exactly.
And exactly. A lot of okay, but if you say that,
yes.
Then there's really then you can't believe anything that ever comes out of anywhere.
Hey, yo.
Putin's this great guy. Putin's this great guy that never kills anybody. No,
the majority of the American media is biased.
If Putin's if the people that go against Putin mysteriously keep dying or getting eliminated from elections because of illegal logging or some stupid rule, which I have seen media on, yes, Western media, but if that keeps happening, come on, it seems a little bit fishy. Well, imagine in America if any strong contender for Trump in the re-election kept dying or committing suicide.
Now imagine,
or getting eliminated.
Yeah. Which happened, but not with Trump, but the opposing party.
Right.
There's this even this meme called the Clinton death count. Being suicided with 2 to the back of the head, and
right. So I'm just saying,
there are people keeping tallies of this.
Sure,
so
but
does it happen? Yes, but
again, I'm not
here's another
anybody at this point.
Right. And I get that, and neither am I.
I think you're overly supportive, though, of Putin, and I don't understand.
No,
where is that coming from?
I'm just not overly on board with the anti-Russian narrative because, well, there's here. First of all, if you look at "Make Russia Great Again," this was done by Putin. People love him for what he did. Do they also criticize him? Yes. Do they also have media in Russia that criticizes Putin again and again and again and again? Yes. So we have this warped image of Russia, I think. And
I agree with that.
And we don't know the real Russia because of the language barrier. So I am not on board with Putin is, this holy figure, but I'm also not on board with Putin is a dictator. An evil dictator who abuses the system.
But he does keep going. You can't have a certain amount of terms in a row.
He did, and then he stepped down, and then he changed his function changed, and then this other guy,
and then he comes back in, and then he goes back out, and then he comes back in, and then he goes back out. Come on,
because he's.
I agree with what you're saying. What you're saying is very smart. I agree. There's a lot of propaganda to make Russia the enemy.
Yes,
I agree.
Yeah, there's
I like that you're not buying into it.
And look at if you look at the military dominance across the world, then it's obvious the U.S. is surrounding Russia. So this is something that if we think back of who was it, Eisenhower, who said the military-industrial complex. Well, there's this big country that doesn't play ball, and that's Russia. So. If writing these small words that they aren't factual, even if you think that he's not, brought to his position in an honest way, you could say the same thing about, the Prime Minister of Turkey or whatever. But we cannot say the Prime Minister of Turkey is a dictator. We cannot say the same about Putin, even if you have. An unfair election, there still talks about an election.
Right. I mean, Trump didn't have a fair election. So he's not a dictator.
Right. So by inserting these, small words, they and repeating them again and again and again, you create like this, these, neural
You're putting
connections.
suggestions.
Yes.
You're putting suggestions into people's minds. And I see this on MSNBC. I've seen this on Fox.
Me too.
Although I do want to, I know it's completely off the rails at this point, but I now kind of see why Tucker Carlson was saying Avenatti is the creepy porn lawyer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, here,
he nailed it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's a great one because that really stuck with people. Or CNN is fake news. Or, these are memes and these things. The same with Putin hates America. Putin meddles in well, it's not like the U.S. ever meddles in anyone's elections. Look at Venezuela right now. Here, let me just because we are now off the rails. Let me just play. If I can find it. Yes, here it is. A little bit of how Mike Pence at the UN Assembly addressed Venezuela yesterday.
The time has come for the United Nations to recognize interim President Juan Guaido as the legitimate president of Venezuela and seat his representative in this body. This body should revoke the credentials of Venezuela's representative to the United Nations, recognize interim President Juan Guaido, and seat the representative of the Free Venezuelan government in this body without delay. Mr. Ambassador, you shouldn't be here.
Here it comes. You shouldn't be here.
You should return to Venezuela and tell Nicolas Maduro that his time is up.
You need to go back where you came from.
It's time for him to go. Well, Pence always talks like this with big pauses and everything, really tries to keep your attention captured. But how is this not meddling?
Yeah, I don't know what to believe anymore.
So
I just feel like Is there any such thing as Is there any such thing as no agenda? Everyone has an agenda.
Of course, everyone has an agenda.
I mean, really?
Yes.
I'm trying to think of. I think we broached this before, but is there any such thing as no agenda?
Well, we know of one example.
Who?
No agenda. The podcast, of course. We know of another
But
example.
even they have But
what's
their agenda is that everyone has an agenda.
Well, they don't.
And they're. Pardon me?
They don't have the agenda that they have is same as you and me. What's our agenda?
Well, it's a lot more balanced. I'll give you that.
What's the agenda of the Mark and George show?
By the way, this is perfect timing. I have you know how we were looking for a name for the show, like that's cool, like no agenda. I have 2 ideas. Ready?
Okay. Yes, I am.
No format. That's the first one. No format.
No format. Okay.
And the second is no idea.
No.
There you go. That's both of them.
Yeah. Let's keep thinking.
Vote on those guys.
Let's keep thinking. Nice.
Honestly, I don't know what I think anymore because
isn't that great though?
I don't know what I think anymore because number one, we're talking about these big, huge concepts, this Magnitsky Act and people getting murdered and killed and $230 million. And I'm sitting here in Las Vegas, just kind of looking over the palm trees in my backyard.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
I'm like, what does it all mean?
Well,
I mean, the world has always been controlled by somebody.
Yes.
There is no way to have an uncontrolled world. So let's say that everyone that's in power now gets completely swapped out with their counterpart, the exact opposites of them. What would be any different?
Well, I love how you're going.
I don't understand.
I love how you're going meta with this. And it's certainly a topic that I really would like to explore. But I've got a few more clips here I want to get through first.
I know. And by the way, guys, the listeners, I have 3 clips too, but there's no way they're coming up today. Keep going.
Well, maybe at the end.
My clips are not related, so it's not going to happen. But we can do it next time.
No. We're going to play all of them.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, we were listening to this CBS thing, Bill Browder, talking about stuff. Well, here, let me continue this one first.
So what would you like to see done to reform this aspect of the international organization?
Well, basically, the rules say that you're not supposed to abuse the system as a member of Interpol for Russia or for anyone else, and the rules have sanctions in them. So it's possible for Interpol to punish Russia, to suspend them for some period of time or some other punishment.
Punish them.
But at the moment, Interpol just allows Putin to just keep on pressing the button time and time again. And it's not just me that's suffering from this type of...
Stop. So they did it 6 times before.
Yes.
They got denied.
Yes.
And they're doing it again.
Yes.
And the rules say you're not allowed to do that.
No,
if you do that, you get sanctioned.
No, the rules say you're not allowed to abuse the system.
Are they abusing the system?
If they were, if Interpol...
Hang on. If 6 times this non-political group called Interpol said no, and they keep sending it back, doesn't that seem like they're abusing the system?
To me, no.
How many times would be abuse? How many times?
Once
is abuse.
Once.
So they are abusing it then?
No, the abuse would be there if Interpol deems it as such. If Interpol says, well, you're onto something, but this is not enough. Please come back. Then that doesn't.
Oh, is that what's happening?
We don't know.
I didn't know that was the case.
We don't know, but isn't that a case to be made? But do
you think they could have got? Look. Mm-hmm. Let's say that's the case. Russia says, Bill Browder, ABC. Here's our facts about Bill Browder. They go, you don't have enough. Okay, hang on. A, B, C, D, E. Not enough. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Not enough. A, B, C. Keep in mind, I have to do this 3 more times.
Yeah, it's a lot.
When is enough?
Yeah.
I mean, even in America, we have double jeopardy laws. This seems like a lot.
Right. Well, abusing the system once would be enough.
It sounds like abuse to me.
To be punished by
Sounds
Interpol.
like abuse to me.
I don't know. I mean, I
don't
know.
What it's like. You know what it sounds like
in 10 years.
This is what it sounds like. It sounds to me like someone accuses me of rape, for example, which is complete bullshit. Someone accuses me of rape.
Right.
And I go, okay, I'll go down to the police station. I'll do all the tests, whatever. And the police go, you know what? we didn't find your DNA. There's really no reason to indict you because we don't have anything. Each time I'm subjected to this, that seems like abuse.
Oh, well,
I haven't watched any of this information. I'm coming at it from a completely uneducated point of view, but it seems like if Russia got denied 6 times claiming Browder did something and he should be arrested.
Right.
There is a personal agenda against Bill Browder.
We don't
and
know.
I don't see how you don't see that.
Here's the thing. If this person would keep going to the police, then the police would keep looking at the actual evidence. And is this enough to, you wouldn't even, if they deny arresting you, you wouldn't even know about this. And then the girl goes back. She says, well, I have more evidence here. I've got different evidence here. We don't know. So we can guess about this. But I would say if this girl finally goes and she has, like made her own drawing of this is how it looks, then that would, be less convincing than if she says, well, I've been raped and I want to make a detailed statement about this. And then they say, well, it's not enough. You need more proof, or this is all, how do you call it? Like circumstantial.
But I mean, this is all conjecture because you have no idea.
Of course, this is all conjecture. I'm just thinking.
Do you not trust that Interpol, because, okay, it seems to me like you believe that Interpol is not a political organization and
I don't know. I have no idea. I know that
you were bothered earlier that Bill Browder was making Interpol. He was politicizing Interpol.
Yeah, by
using words like, right, by adding words into his statements that
well, he says
push people towards a certain narrative, right?
Puts in is using Interpol, which is basically also a provocation for Interpol to say, no, he's not. No, we'll prove that he's not using us. We don't know. So it's speculating at this part.
Again,
it's very
what is
difficult
real
to get through.
What is real, Mark?
We might find out later, my friend. Let's continue those clips though, because
I know, but you know what? Even if they come out later with new information, what really is real? Who killed JFK with all of the information, for example?
Right.
What is really real?
Right.
Just throwing that out.
And who is protecting truth?
You're listening to No Idea.
No Idea.
All right, play your clips. I know you want to go with them. Go ahead.
Well, the last point I wanted to make is
it's not sounding good though right now. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that Bill Browder is, again, with no information from this point.
Well,
what if both sides are? What if both sides are pieces of shit?
Well, that's probably the case. Here's just my final thought before I start this clip again about this. Why this Interpol has also not yet punished Russia for doing this.
Right.
So if it were bogus or bullshit 6 times in a row, maybe they would have, but they haven't. So
that's a good point.
That's the opposite of the argument. But yeah, let's.
And it's not just me that's suffering from this type of abuse. There's plenty of other dictators around the world doing the same thing. And Interpol is supposed to be a crime fighting organization, not an.
Did you catch the other thing? Did you catch it? Did you catch what he made a mistake here? Did you catch it?
Replay it. Let me see.
And it's not just me that's suffering from this type of abuse. There's plenty of other dictators around the world doing the same thing. And
did you hear it?
He's calling himself a dictator?
Yes, he's calling himself a dictator.
No, that's it. No, hang on.
Want me to play it again?
No. Listen. Let me explain English. Play the first part. There's not just me. That's
7 seconds.
Go ahead.
And it's not just me that's suffering from this type of abuse. There's plenty of other.
It's not just me that's suffering from this abuse from the dictators.
Yeah,
I know. Around the world.
There's not just me suffering from this kind of abuse. There's plenty of other dictators. If you say that in one sentence without antifreeze, antifreeze.
Well, it can go. Okay. Well, English does a lot of.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, all right.
I give you some leeway too.
You're definitely pulling a little bit too much on the words there because in English context, it's context though.
Right, but
that's not a mistake. He's not saying he's a dictator.
Well, people also have tells. And
but in the prior sentences, he'd already established Putin as a dictator.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But like
that's
I said,
funny.
Truth.
What were you gonna say about Adam?
Like my mentor, sometimes my mentor Adam says, pretty often, the truth always wants to come out. So if we look at it from that perspective, when people make mistakes, when they talk, then sometimes.
And it's not just me that's suffering from this type of abuse. There's plenty of other dictators around the world doing the same thing, and
there's plenty of other dictators doing the
same thing. Though he's not doing anything, though he's receiving it.
He's been receiving it.
If you look at the verb there, that
I heard
was getting reamed. He said that.
Yeah, like, exactly. And he catches himself. I think he catches himself saying this. Anyway, they
That's pretty funny. I love language. It's really funny.
Oh yeah, me too. And
remember, this reminds me of reverse speech that they used to do on Art Bell.
Yes.
Where they would find hidden meaning in the reverse.
Oh yes, let me look up if I have it here.
Reverse speech was really fun. There's there was something about the ending where they take the
here's
one small step for man.
Yeah. And what did it?
No, I don't remember what it was, but it was the equivalent of something like "they are watching us" or something like that.
Here's yes, we can.
You hear it? Hang on. Don't tell me what it is. I want to see if we can figure it out. Can you save her?
Oh, nice. Almost.
I don't know.
Thank you, Satan.
Oh, that's not close at all.
Say
it again?
Thank you, Satan.
No, here. Play it again. Dude, that sounded like "Can you save her" in the beginning.
Can you save her? I hear
which made sense.
Thank you, Satan.
See, but "Can you save her" makes a lot more sense because I think we hear what we want to hear in these reverse speech examples. But,
I think sometimes I build it in.
Yeah, because it makes sense. "Can you save her?" No, because I'm going to win this presidency.
The one from that's a good point.
And then I will be "quote unquote" the worst president in the history of the United States.
Staircase to Heaven had, if you reverse the first.
Here's
to my sweets, the one whose little path would make me sad, or something. The one whose
someone needs to reverse speech.
He put us in a little shed where he made us suffer. Sad Satan. Oh, here's to my sweet Satan. Anyway,
I ate up those reverse speech.
Did you also try to mimic things in reverse and try to change those into natural sounding English and then listen
that would be ridiculous.
That's
why
what
would I do
think
that?
That's what the Beatles did, and that's also what I tried when I was a kid. I was like,
okay, well, they did it in
how can I make
they did it in the show Twin Peaks. They did it in the show Twin Peaks. Yeah.
Okay, we can grab some oxygen because Bill Browder wants to. We're almost there.
He wants to.
Please.
Okay. The evil Bill Browder.
We have a few more things left to gnaw through.
I think it's quite a conspiracy when you think that Bill Browder's initials are BB, which is the same as.
Bring this into ridicule because this is just an interesting topic. And
all right.
Now, as you know, WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange has just been arrested at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. He's facing extradition charges in the U.S. A Kremlin spokesperson said that Moscow hopes Assange's rights will not be violated. So what's your view on all of this?
Well, first of all, Julian Assange, at some early point in his career, had my sympathy when he was exposing things in the public interest. But it became clear that he wasn't exposing things in the public interest. After that, he was exposing things in the Russian government's interests, and which is why the Russian government is speaking up in his defense. And I think it's awfully hypocritical of the Russian government to be talking about Julian Assange's rights when they murdered my lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky.
My lawyer.
I agree with that, but hit the bell. Yeah, you needed to hit the bell there. I actually didn't realize that was Bill Browder initially. Actually forgot the whole conversation until he said my lawyer. But I thought it makes sense that he was saying that
not again.
It makes. I wanted you to hit the bell because it sounds like, hey, they're defending Assange because he was helping them.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Not really.
I mean, for a while he was in Russia.
Oh, that's Snowden.
That's Snowden. You're right.
Yeah.
God damn it.
No. Here's from 11th of January 2017 from The Guardian. Since this is let's see, who is this quoting? This is very important point to make. I'll just read the quote here. I think this is quoted Assange speaking. He says, "Since you are so adamant that Russia was not involved in the recent leaks that played a major role in the U.S. presidential election, excuse me, it would be helpful if you can make a compelling case for why Americans should trust you over their own intelligence agencies whose reason for existence is to defend the U.S. against foreign threats and who are saying the opposite about Russian involvement." That was said to Assange. Assange gave a substantial reply, which included the following, quote, "WikiLeaks has published more than 10 million documents over 10 years. We have 100% accuracy rate on authenticating our publications." Now here it comes. WikiLeaks has published more than 800,000 documents that relate to Russia or Vladimir Putin. Most of those are critical. And that's now that's said nowhere.
Seems like a pretty good point.
Yeah. So, now the frame that we are hearing is, initially I liked Assange, but he turns out to help the Russian government, and now I don't like him anymore. Well, he didn't, he's attacking everyone, everywhere, with not lies or frames, but facts, leaked documents that have been vouched and that are now in the public domain, because WikiLeaks wants one thing, more than anything else, which, according to themselves, and also, proven by their own publications, is the truth. So that's that going for them. Hey-yo.
I'm confused. How do you feel about Assange?
Well, I don't think Assange is anti-US and pro-Russia. I think Assange is, and he once made a very compelling quote: "We need to catch the bad guys." That's what Assange is all about, I think. So he's not helping anyone. He's not anyone's friend. He's exposing the bad guys.
Right. All right. Let's turn now, if you will, to the Mueller report. So according to Attorney General William Barr's summary of the report, there was no collusion between President Trump and Russia. What will you be looking for in the entire report?
Oh, shit. Oh, man. I want to make sure I have a clip that shoehorns into this.
All right. Yeah, it's number one, I think. You want me to play that? Cue it up.
I don't know if the timing is right, but I pulled these specifically.
Let me finish this interview with Browder, and then we'll go back to the Barr report.
Let's just jump out of it. Go ahead.
Well, for me, the most interesting part of the report is the part about what Russia actually did to influence the outcome of the U.S. political process. We know that Russia intervened. We know that Putin intervened. And I'd like to see those details, because I think those details should, in a certain way, educate us about what needs to be done in the future to protect the U.S. political system and to protect other political systems from future activities by the Russians.
All right. Well, fair assessment if you are an American citizen. But is Bill Browder an American citizen? No, he is not. He denounced his U.S. citizenship, which
for
was
taxes
30 years ago for tax reasons. However, if you ask him about all of this, his answer is,
Current situation that you find yourself in. Of course, you were born in the U.S., but now hold British citizenship. Did you revoke your U.S. citizenship?
So I moved to Britain about 30 years ago. I became British 20 years ago. When I naturalized, I relinquished my U.S. citizenship. I'm a permanent resident and citizen of Britain at this point for the last 20 years.
How is that bad? He just said exactly the truth.
Well,
he relinquished his U.S. citizenship.
Yeah, but he doesn't really go into details. He wasn't
start stumbling. What other detail is there?
Well, let me see if I can.
They didn't ask him why he did it. They just said, "Explain your situation." He says, "Well, I'm British."
I don't know. I thought his answer was a little bit dodgy.
Was it?
Yeah,
I didn't get that out. I didn't get that at all out of that.
However, there was one.
I do think you come in with a narrative that Bill Browder is definitely a bad guy. So I think it's easy for you to hear. Me having no formed opinion of him, I don't have that narrative. It just sounds like he's explaining himself. Like,
yeah. Well,
and I think dodging taxes is a damn good reason to change your. Sure, why not?
Quite frankly, well, yeah, for business
millions of dollars, you're except for taxes. Right. So if you have millions of dollars, any country is going to be great to live in.
Well, maybe London is a little bit nicer. Here is Bill Browder on a different, in a different situation. It was published on the 13th. Oh man, my show notes are going to blow up today. On the 13th of February, and why it's useful for him to live in London. Let's give this a listen. If it works, why doesn't this play? Come on.
If you're a bad guy, your property. This is the place where property rights are most entrenched. Mm-hmm. This is the place where rule of law is most.
Is he eating dinner when he's doing this?
Advanced. This is the place where the courts really are independent. And so, as easy as they stole the money in these foreign countries, they know it's safe here. And they also have been able to come to the conclusion that nothing bad will ever happen to them. So, of the 400,000 prosecutions in this country, means that basically, if you're a crook from Russia or Saudi Arabia or one of these countries, you could be pretty well assured that you'll get away with your crimes here in the UK.
Oh, live in the UK.
All right.
I am sure that the whole House will welcome the news this morning. Mr. Speaker, this goes to show that in the United Kingdom, no one is above the law.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, people, we're almost there. Thank you for bearing with me.
Okay, so you were a topic during last year's Helsinki summit between Trump and Putin. As I'm sure you're aware, the Russian leader asked the U.S. to hand you over in exchange for 12 Russian intelligence officers accused of hacking the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. The White House turned down that offer. But what do you make of President Trump's relationship with President Putin?
Well, it was a very strange series of days when that was happening. So, as you mentioned, Putin said, I want Bill Browder and 11 other people who had worked with me from the U.S. government in passing the Magnitsky Act. And Trump said, I think that's a brilliant idea. And Trump did eventually turn it down, but it took him 4 days to turn it down, which is unbelievable for me and the other 11 who were as part of that deal. And it was very strange that why would the president of the United States be willing to hand anybody over to Vladimir Putin, particularly people that Putin wants to kill?
So do you feel more protected then by the British government than you would have been by the American government if you were still a citizen?
Well, I feel perfectly protected by the U.S. legal system. I feel totally comfortable traveling to the United States because the United States is a country with the rule of law, as is the same thing in the United Kingdom. But I do find it offensive that the president was willing to, at least for 4 days, enter into this horrifying and disgusting deal with Vladimir Putin.
All right, Bill Browder, we really thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Shysters show up and take advantage of people's goodwill and generosity.
Bullshit.
And you threw a lot out there at the end.
So
the one thing I got out of that is when they say he eventually said no to it, but it took him 4 days. That's crazy. No, he was thinking about it.
Exactly.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah. Same thing.
That he still didn't do it. I think it's crazy if he does it. Not that he was.
My thoughts. Again. Yeah. So this was my second dissertation on the topic.
That's where you wanted to go. That was the crescendo right there.
The weird thing is that he said elaborate on that, and he says he feels protected by the U.S., but he's not a U.S. citizen. So he feels protected by U.S. legislature.
He expounded on that. He said that the laws are. He said that the laws aren't crazy. Basically, he was saying he's not going to get arrested for anything crazy, random. He feels like that it's just, I think is what he was saying.
Yeah, I wish Assange could say the same thing as a non-U.S. citizen. And he even finds it offensive that Russia's request was even considered for those 4 days. That's an emotional appeal. That is usually the appeal of someone who is not entirely honest. So
I don't think you can go there. I don't think you can go there.
I think somebody who's being honest doesn't need to make emotional appeals, and usually doesn't.
No. I think he could have generally been shocked, especially since he's the guy in the middle.
Well, I was so offended. You know, it's nonsense. It's not factual, and it doesn't really convince me, at least.
Oh, come on, Mark. I think that I believe that is. Come on. It's like they were saying when Kavanaugh got upset.
I heard something about
so
them.
Of course. Mm-hmm. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, it makes sense, right? If you, it's just because you're upset
he was
or incensed doesn't mean you're lying.
He was appalled. He didn't say, I find it offensive that it was even considered. And Kavanaugh wouldn't have said that. He would have said, I think, well, of course you need to look at all the evidence, but there is no evidence.
You haven't been in that situation, Mark.
I have seen Kavanaugh's response.
Sure, but I mean, you haven't been in the situation where.
But he wasn't.
Let's say someone accuses you of. Let's say someone accuses you of hitting your son. Are you just going to be like, no, that's not the case? No. But they say, no, but it's something fishy going on with your son. Obviously,
I would become angry.
Exactly, and you would say, and also, this is not his first time talking about it, right? He'd be like, oh my God!
I think
because you're only going to be angry that first couple times.
If Kavanaugh is ever asked about this stuff again, it will immediately trigger anger first thing. But we will see.
Not 20 years from now.
Speculation.
Not 20 years from now. No.
So,
not 20 years from now. He'll go,
here's the thing. Ridiculous. If you and I had definite proof.
Of what?
Of him lying, of him, being totally dishonest. If you and I had definite proof, then
right. But look, there are some amazing liars out there that could show all the emotion that you're saying. People that tell the truth might show.
No, I'm saying,
and then there are people that don't have emotion.
Hold on. That's not my point. My point is, if you and I had definite proof, then the rest of the public would have definite proof, and that would probably be after this guy gets exposed for the, what's really here. So of course we cannot, go beyond the thought.
But let me take a little bit more meta. I think there's no such thing as definite proof.
But you're. The thing is,
what am I? There's no definite proof. There's only what's going to be shown to us from either side, and the other side will always deny whatever proof there is. So what is real? What is real is really what it ends up being, because we are not there. We are only hearing the clips.
Yes, exactly. You're only hearing the clips I'm making. So that's what I'm saying. I am not a prosecutor here. So I cannot go beyond the realm of, speculation, unless it is, for example, a story about a convicted criminal.
You speculate that he's lying because he's upset that Trump would even consider sending him to Russia.
No,
or sending people to Russia.
Again, I go back to my original point. Many small things together, plus, the research I've already did into this. We can get into more and more and more, but, there has to be a limit to this bullshit. So,
True.
So, you had a clip?
There is this question of what it means that William Barr chose to ignore.
Stop.
Set it up. I'm sorry, I had to ask.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, man, give me a... You just all of a sudden started stroking. My pants weren't even on.
Hey-o.
Well, the clips that I put together are, because I didn't know the show was I literally had no idea where the show was going. Mm-hmm. It went, I don't even know how we got started. It was IMF, and then Magnitsky was the rest of the show. WikiLeaks, yeah. Assange, WikiLeaks, the whole thing. Okay, so I just thought we were going to be talking about normal everyday news things, and I thought I would we talk about, maybe we should save these for another show, because it might be nice to, No,
Why? Man, let's play.
No one's listening anyway. There's like 2 people watching on, I feel like YouTube was done wrong. There's 2 people watching.
We get like thousands of downloads. At some point.
Is your phone continually downloading the show?
Don't go to just nail this, man. Come on. Hit me.
All right. What I was saying was, what I thought we were going to do was have right and left media and kind of put it together to see how one side is skewed and the other side is skewed, and then we can come to a middle consensus of maybe what's happening. Right now, the the pro-Trump side is saying no collusion, no crimes have been committed, no obstruction of justice.
Right.
And Barr is like, here's your summary, boom, and it's trying to be over. Now play what the left side narrative is from, and it's a little bit, I think it's like a minute or so, but just let it play all the way through from Rachel Maddow. Go ahead.
There is this question of what it means that William Barr chose to ignore the summaries written by Mueller's team and instead produce his own. Mueller's office apparently says that his representation of their findings is not an accurate representation of what they really found. Here's how the Washington Post explains it. Quote, members of special counsel Robert Mueller's team have told associates they're frustrated with the limited information Attorney General William Barr has provided about their nearly 2-year investigation. Barr told lawmakers that he concluded the evidence wasn't sufficient to prove the president obstructed justice. But members of Mueller's team have complained to close associates that the evidence they gathered on obstruction was alarming and significant. One person telling the Post, quote, it was much more acute than Barr suggested. Some members of the office were particularly disappointed that Barr didn't release summary information the special counsel team had prepared. According to one U.S. official briefed on the matter, quote, there was immediate displeasure from the team when they saw how the AG had characterized their work. The official said that the Mueller team prepared its summaries for different sections of the report with a view that they could be made public. The official said the report was prepared, quote, so that the front matter from each section could have been released immediately or very quickly. It was done in a way that minimum redactions, if any, would have been necessary, and the work would have spoken for itself.
Interesting. I kind of had the same feel. I don't even expect
too sensitive.
Right. I don't even expect
that was interesting.
To do that. Yeah, it's very interesting.
But it seems well sourced, right?
It does, and I wish she named her sources, but obviously she cannot.
Well, that's from the Washington Post, and that's
right. Yeah,
names from within the
named their sources.
Well, then it's from. Well, first of all, when the report comes out, we'll either see that it's true or not. But it makes a lot of sense, complete sense to me, that you would have a summary of each section, like they're saying, and especially from what we know about Mueller's history, he's not the kind of guy that would. Number one, there was 0 leaks during his investigation, and the stuff that. His history has shown that he's very careful in what he does.
Were a lot of leaks. Were leaks or
there?
Like the Strzok and Page text messages and.
Was that a leak from Mueller's team?
Oh, I don't know where it popped.
I don't think that's not a leak from the Mueller investigation. Either way, listen, I just thought that was an interesting clip because it shows that that this whole narrative that. Because I even thought it. I believed it hook, line, and sinker. No collusion, no obstruction. But what did Nixon go down for? Obstruction was one of the biggest reasons he went down for. Why obstruct something if you didn't do something? Anyway, interesting. We'll find out. Apparently, it's coming out next week.
Yeah, I think you make a very interesting point. This is also a feeling I've been having that they downplay too much. There's nothing in there. And once the actual report comes out, it will be even a bigger dud. And the Democrats will be so embarrassed. And the other side is Barr is saying things because Mueller doesn't really want to say them. And that kind of rhetoric, that's, from the right and from the left, it's both a little bit boring and it's both a little bit distracting. And I think this sums up.
It looks very obvious to me that
sums up a valid claim. I think that is not made because it is too nuanced to put into a short, spin.
Well, look, the left is over demonizing without the full report, and the right is under reporting. Because they're trying to just let this be the end of it. And it was a witch hunt and all of the money was wasted, but why don't we actually see the report? Then we can actually make a judgment. Right now, you have a 400+ page report. Imagine a 400-page book summarized into a paragraph. It's not possible to determine how that book, what the content of that book is in one page.
True.
And he's restated things now 4 times. Yeah. So there's obviously something and the longer they wait, I think the better it is, because it becomes old news.
Yeah, and
by
Trump
the time
can,
it comes out.
Right, and Trump can, he gets time to mold this into the no collusion, no obstruction narrative, which is.
And Barr won't say if Trump has seen the report or not. He will not say. He's giving them time to figure out how to respond to these things once they come out, is what I think. The man was handpicked.
The other reason is you have to, remove the portions that are just still under, for intelligence.
Grand jury.
Only. No, the
grand jury part.
Yeah, or
the redactions.
The redactions. Yeah, of course you need to redact.
But that's what the summaries. That's what the summaries were for.
Right.
And
but it takes a while to redact 400 pages over multiple committees and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that it takes time.
I don't disagree.
Surprise me, but
if you look at historically, how long did it take for other reports to come out? This is a long, long time.
Yeah, but it was also a really long investigation. It's been dragging out for 2.5 years.
Other reports have been longer than this. Other reports have been longer than this even, and came out sooner.
Which ones?
I'd have to go back and watch the Rachel Maddow show where she talked about it. I don't have all the.
Well, it's interesting.
Do you want me to look it up now?
Yeah, no, but make a clip for it for next time when we get.
Maybe this is old news already. But play the second clip, the tax code. I thought this one was interesting too. This is another MSNBC. This is Lawrence O'Donnell, and as you know, they've requested the tax. Oh my God, the word is slipping my brain right now. They want to see Trump's taxes for the last 6 years, and this is and apparently they might be breaking the law by not providing it. Go ahead.
Oh, and who are we listening to?
Lawrence O'Donnell from MSNBC. He's really, really anti-Trump, very smug about Trump. He does not like Trump. Go ahead and play it.
Tonight, in an article just published at the Daily Beast, David K. Johnston reveals that Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig are now in serious danger of violating Section 7214 of the tax code, which could be punishable by 5 years in prison. Section 7214 is entitled Offenses by Officers and Employees of the United States. It says, any officer or employee of the United States acting in connection with any revenue law of the United States who, with intent to defeat the application of any provision of this law, fails to perform any of the duties of his office or employment shall be dismissed from office or discharged from employment and, upon conviction thereof, shall be fined not more than $10,000 or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. That simply means any federal employee, including the president.
Yes. Let me play that first part again because I want to hear it again. But the second part about being convicted is not really, So that's you can. Yeah.
Well, until obviously you don't get the punishment until you're convicted, right?
Yeah, of course.
But I just thought that's interesting that I do think his taxes are going to come out, or it's going to go. The only way this is going to end is if they go to the Supreme Court, because there's no law that says there is no law that says a president has to show his taxes.
Right.
And I think what's going to happen is they're going to now California apparently passed something, and I think another state also has it. I don't remember exactly, that says you can't be on the ballot as a president anymore unless you have released your taxes.
Well, that needs to be approved by the Supreme Court, doesn't it?
That's what it's definitely going to go to the Supreme Court. There's no way it won't.
Yeah.
Because especially if Trump doesn't want to, everyone else is cool for their taxes, but Trump, he can't.
The other one who's not cool with this, but also has, I will do it as soon as I get elected is Maxine. No, not Maxine. What is the other one? What's her name? Elizabeth Warren. She's also been a little bit dodgy about the whole thing.
Whatever. I don't want her to be. I'd rather have her withdraw. I want her to drop out.
You want her to be the teacher for your very annoying nephew or something, I know, I agree. But the fact that there is something fishy going on with taxes, isn't that the case for every billionaire?
I think if you look at Trump's taxes, it's going to find
something.
No. Something alone, even Trump has admitted a bunch of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's something so bad in his taxes that he knows he can't show it.
Yeah, but isn't that the case for every billionaire?
Maybe.
I mean, the stuff, going to the...
But what if we found out all of his money came from Russia?
To the Cayman Islands?
What if everything shows Russia? Sure, but what if everything shows Russia?
That's like a running gag. That's not really what will be shown. The thing
what
that
if it shows a bunch of conflict of interest?
Well,
is it bullshit? I think the president should have to show his taxes. I think the president should have to show.
Such a.
The man who's in charge of the entire country kind of should have to be a lot transparent.
Okay, then I also want I want Obama to also retrospectively do it.
He did it.
Did he show his taxes?
Obama gave 10 years of his taxes.
Well, I want him to show his taxes now, God.
You realize this is the only president in history that didn't do it. Everyone else has done it. Every front runner has done it.
Well,
he's the only one.
Maybe.
And he said he was going to do it once his now 3 years audit is done.
Maybe, audit's nice. Maybe that's what changed during the midterms. Maybe someone figured it all out and made Trump dance to the tune of the Bolton.
Trump doesn't care.
Trump doesn't care. I know, man. This Trump, he's not the same anymore. Something changed.
He looks the same to me. I don't know what.
Maybe, but he's dodgy. He's dodgy.
Maybe he's always been dodgy.
Maybe he doesn't want to. No, he's been very, very, up front and center. After the midterm, something I keep saying it. Something changed, and he's something. Yeah.
Well, maybe you know what the difference is.
Maybe he doesn't want to become a president for the second time. That's a possibility.
No, you know what it is. Well, I've heard that narrative too, but the left
just an option.
No, I've heard that as a narrative from the left.
I see.
That Trump doesn't really want to be president, and he doesn't want to. He's purposely taking up positions that are crazy so that he won't get elected again. Like he's bringing back the whole Obamacare stuff when that was very hugely unpopular. Mm-hmm. It's what gave the Congress to the Democrats, and they think that he's choosing that. This is the narrative. Because he doesn't want to be president again. And that would be the way to not be president again. Right. But I think why I think Trump is the same is that I've been watching the left's news for so long, and they've always called him crazy. They've always showed him in the bad light.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you were just now catching up and seeing some bad news on him, whereas before when we first started talking, you were very pro-Trump. I don't even mean this show. I mean, just me and you talking, you loved Trump.
Oh, yeah, I was. Really? If I were an American, I would have had the red hat and I would have tried to convince other people. But, that there was a period where they talked about the high energy, the dragon energy. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of wore off or something.
Yeah. The last clip that I have, I just thought was kind of funny. And I think that one is from CNN. It's just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. What happened was, a photographer took a photo of Trump, and the photo shows the press reflecting from his eyes, and it's a story on that reflection of the press in his eyes. Go ahead and
Associated Press photographer Pablo Martinez Monsiváis was in the middle of the press pack as the president left the White House. He thought he'd taken a regular headshot, but later he reviewed his photos more closely.
And I looked, and I was completely surprised, and I was like, wow.
As beautiful as it is terrifying, marveled BuzzFeed News. Some compared it to the first ever photo of a black hole. Someone even put the reflected image of the press in the black hole. Of course, reactions to the president's eye are in the eye of the beholder. Such a fierce, determined look. That's the eye of a leader. Ignore the overgrown eyebrows, the bloodshot speck. That's not a hair in his eye. That's the rope line for the press to stay behind. The president's eye reminded some of Blade Runner, a futuristic Los Angeles mirrored in an eye. I've been sort of imagining Trump saying, there's like something in my eye. It's the enemy of the people.
The fake news, enemy of the people.
No amount of Visine is going to relieve the president of this constant irritation. Judging from this photograph, the press is the enemy of the pupil.
Oh, God. Did she really? Oh, well, I'm happy that we played those. Well done.
That's pretty funny, right?
Those were high energy. The whole show was high energy.
It was very informative. I think a lot of people learned a lot today.
And we didn't get on, bickering or
not too much.
Well, I love you, man. Let's not do that again. Huh? Let's just be happy.
No guarantees.
La La Land. All right, George. We will be back next Tuesday, same time.
Hopefully with a voice.
Yeah. Check us out. Where are we? MarkandGeorge.com, Twitter, whatever.
All the places.